You know, the protocols have not been established, so I'm just trying to figure it out here. Our guest speaker and outgoing governor of Edo State. Believe me, you need to be reminded of these things. Usually, and I'm glad Governor Liu is here, because just as drug addicts, the word is jonesing, right? When you leave office, you jones for a while. So I need to constantly remind him that he's outgoing governor of Edo State. Formerly comrade, now His Excellency. He says as a comrade governor, I refuse. It's different. Governor Liu, I welcome you. Your Lordships, the moderator of this center, Bishop Kuka, and the Bishop of Yola, Bishop Mamza, distinguished guests, we mere mortals, ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome you to this forum, and let me also commend the Kuka Center for organizing this forum. And the theme, from activism to political power, is very apt. And for Matthew Kuka himself, he's an activist, cloaked with a collar and a cassock, with a staff as a shepherd. He seeks to enthrone spiritual norms and values, but I tell you, that is usually misconstrued as seeking power through the back door. 2,000 years ago, or thereabout, a gentleman from a village called Nazareth sought the same. He was described as meddlesome in the social order of the day, and thus dangerous, and was quickly done away with. Today, we do not crucify on a stake. We sometimes execute with a rope or a bullet, as Ken Sarawiwa would testify, but we largely label you a thief, execute you through formal and informal media. That happens to be the new Golgotha. But aptly, shouldn't we human beings all be activists? People yearning to make improvements in society. The passive and the active activists. The passive being the electorate, and the active those seeking to be elected. Ordinarily, politicians ought to be active activists, advocating and articulating improvements in society. Sadly, politicians in our society today are mostly jobbers and budget padders, advocating for themselves and not society. They cleverly and surreptitiously apply the word change. I, of course, won't use that word, because as a member of the PDP, or what's left of it, that word change, they do me one kind. However, improvement is constant. Not being satisfied with how society is and seeking to better it. We advocate improvement and not change. Don't forget, in 1966, we had a change, a violent one, from a democracy to military. So change is not always necessarily the way to go. As for the change where we did so, only time will tell. Improvement, on the other hand, is universal and a constant pursuit. The civil activist, unfortunately, usually styles himself apolitical, lest he be accused of being partisan, which in his view may blunt the thrust of his activist sword. But he forgets that things don't just happen. People make things happen. Articulating and stamping is good for the human conscience. But at the end of the day, it is just that. All talk. Similar to a teacher espousing rhetoric to students in a classroom, and when the bell tolls for the next class, that's it. The students move on. Usually, when the activist by circumstance finds himself in political office, he gets confused between the idealism he espoused and the reality on ground. Some come out of this experience a shadow of their once bubbly self. Indeed, politicians, military and civil, usually introduce these activists into the political sphere to either earn credibility by association, shut them up, blunten, or tarnish them completely. Sort of having you inside pissing in rather than outside pissing in. General Babangida was rather skillful at that. You may recall Tai Sholari of the People's Bank and Wole Soyinka of the Road Safety Corps. And quite recently, and I thought he'll be here, my friend Segun Adeni and Ruben Abati, activist journalists as spokespersons for government. And how they fare thereafter within their erstwhile sphere is often quite interesting. But it shouldn't be. Idealism should be steeped in reality. And this is where our guest speaker comes in. He walked the talk. Comrade Adams Oshiomhole, as he then was a thorn in the side of governments and the organized private sector when he was an active unionist. There was the Adams seen by many in government as unyielding and even willing to pull down government to make a point. And the Adams in the back room negotiating based on reality. And he was indeed a different person there, a pragmatist. And I can attest to this. I once sought his help to negotiate my unions in Cross River State to accept 5,500 as minimum wage then. They wanted 6,500. He got them to come down and me to go up. We agreed on the astronomical figure of 5,600. He declared the unions the winner of the negotiations, having forced a recalcitrant government to yield to the people's demand by an increment of 100 naira. He held a large rally, thoroughly abused my administration and all we represented, of wanting to pay workers peanuts as if they were monkeys. He extolled the negotiating skills of the workers and got them singing Solidarity Forever. In the evening, I had a private dinner for him, attended by politicians and leaders in government, where we extolled his pragmatism as a unionist leader. After all, he saved us 900 naira. So he got accolades by day at the rally and accolades at night at the dinner. A win-win, I would say. I treated him to my version of Solidarity Forever, a musical session by my band. I was in a very joyful mood. I just saved 900 naira. Several dances, drinks, and listening to golden oldies after, he then asked to be the manager of my band. And immediately my mood changed. I quickly informed him that we were neither unionized nor had we ever contemplated a wage increase or a strike. We parted that evening with me thinking all was well. At a forum of leadership and the challenges of appropriate emolument in a few months thereafter here in Abuja, I stated that due to the differentials in state incomes, I would advocate for the decentralization of the minimum wage. Comrade Adams, apparently still smarting from my refusal to allow him manage my band, quickly got up and remarked that my entourage and the convoy of vehicles and blaring sirens that heralded my arrival to the venue did not reflect differential in incomes amongst the states. That when it comes to the perks of office, we were all unified. Now comes Governor Adams. I don't know if you heard his siren when he was coming in this morning. And he had quite an entourage too. And I noticed that the khaki has gone off for silk. Listen. Because, you know, he takes the microphone after me, and I'm sorry for myself already. I'm really sorry for myself. But, you know, I'll take it like a man. The khaki has gone off for silk French suits. But what the hell? He's a pragmatist, I said. Firstly, he runs on the platform of the then ACN, which he had once described as a bourgeoisie gathering, and not the Labour Party. That is reality. He has had several brushes with his civil servants, them as Oliver Twist, asking for pay rise, and he's saying plainly, no. That, again, is reality. He has been accused by the former administration of President Jonathan as single-handedly frustrating the National Savings Plan, which he, in times past, advocated. Is that based on the reality of a cash-strapped state government? Has Adams bitten into the bun of reality and lost out in the realm of idealism, or has he been able to merge both to forge ahead? Let us hear his story. Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you all.